What's going on, everyone? Rabid here with the RabidMining YouTube channel, and here we are once again coming at you with a brand new Rebtech blockchain all-in-one 8 GPU motherboard, or PC. I say PC because it has it listed right on it, but this is everything you need. This is a whole computer packed into about the size of a GPU. It has been about a year since I first showcased this Rebtech motherboard right here, which is the version 1. Now, unlike version 2, which has an Intel CPU, now this one has an AMD GPU, and people were having issues of 1660 Supers working on this, as well as some other NVIDIA GPUs. Now, I had no issues with any of my 3000 series 3060 Ti's, but again, some people were. All you had to do on this one was update your NVIDIA drivers, and then they would detect. Before you guys ask below, the pricing on the new motherboard is about $359 USD, where version 1 is coming in at 210 USD. So I did get 4 of these new Rebtech models in, so we'll see what happens. Maybe when I do hit that 30K subscriber mark, which is coming up, it's fairly close, we're about 800 away or so, maybe I'll have a giveaway and I'll give one of these away. I don't know if I'm going to make it Canada only, seeing I'm from Canada and shipping is really expensive, or I could make it worldwide, but maybe, you know, if you want to pay for shipping, we could work something out and I could make this worldwide, but we'll see what happens as we get closer to 30K, as well as how testing comes out. Now, this is going to be more of like an unboxing type of video here. I just want to plug it in, make sure it works, you know, make sure the GPUs are getting detected inside of this. Also, if you're unfamiliar with these USB integrated motherboards, there is no PCI Express or anything needed. These are straight USB. I believe everything is on a ×1 speed, so it's not ×16 or anything, so you can't trick LOL miner on 4GB cards to get, you know, up to 12 megahash or so. On 4GB GPUs, you're only going to get about maybe 5, if it even detects it. It might undetect it because that DAG file is so high. So as you can see, these USB integrations are actually made specifically for their very own Rebtech cards. Now, I don't know if these ones are made anymore. This is an RX 470, I believe. It might be a 480. But they used to be 4GB cards, and they actually sent them in and they got them upgraded to 8GB so they could remain on Ethereum. But they have no PCI Express slot on them. So it is USB on the GPU side as well. So there is no need for risers. All you pretty much need is USB cables coming out of the GPU straight into their motherboard. Now, for this case, you know, those are special edition. Obviously, you're going to be using risers on the GPU side, but you don't need the little ×1 slot riser, just the USB end when running these motherboards. Now, that is another version 1 that I have running inside of this little mixed rig here. And this is the version 2 right here, but as you can see, because they're shaped like a GPU, they got all the mounting brackets just like a GPU. You can mount it inside your frame just like a GPU and not, you know, on the bottom like you would with a typical mining motherboard. So I'm going to take this into my actual workstation room, and we're going to put this on the test bench, or potentially, I guess, I could probably slap it on one of these frames here. I got that Veta frame, that 12 GPU AAAWAVE frame. I could use one of those, I suppose, in here, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll go over some quick differences here between version 1 and version 2. And one of the main ones, obviously, is the Intel CPU on version 2 versus the AMD CPU on version 1. But also, version 1 uses an mSATA SSD. Also, you can use USBs if you want for HiveOS or Simple Mining or anything like that. This one did come on version 1 with Simple Mining installed, and version 2, actually, it has a slot for an M2 slot instead, or it has an SD card, which you can see right here. Here's an SD. Just pop it in, pop it out. Now, I did put this in my PC, and it was blank. There was nothing on it, but I did flash HiveOS onto this SD card, so when I do plug this in, hopefully HiveOS and everything loads up. If not, we'll see what's going on. And just like the version 1, you can run USB sticks as well, as it has USB on the back. I do believe version 2 also comes with 8GB of RAM, where version 1 was only 4GB of RAM. Overall, everything looks pretty much the same. They're the exact same size. The battery is up top here on version 2. Well, it's not really on top. It depends how you have it. But it's standing up vertically on version 2 here. And on this one here, you can see It's more down by the RAM and it's laying flat. And it did come with the battery as well. If you do decide to change your BIOS settings or something, obviously you need a battery in your motherboard just to save those settings. They both do still have the 6-pin connector, so this is great for if you're running server power supplies for your mining rigs. The only other difference I really see is version 1 here. It has the little clip and everything for the jumper, so if you want to actually clear your CMOS and everything, your motherboard settings, you can just swap this jumper over one, turn it on, let it run for a couple seconds, turn it off, and then put it back to default on the far left here, and it'll clear all your CMOS settings. But on version 2, I don't see, they don't have the jumper here. They still have you know, the slots to be able to do it, the pins, but they don't have the actual plastic jumper that came with it, unless, you know, maybe it's missing or something. I have no idea. But other than that, everything else is pretty much the same, minus, you know, we got a different cooler on our CPU. But overall, you know, it's an 8 GPU mining motherboard. It's very small and compact, saves a lot of space, and, you know, it looks pretty sweet. Okay, guys, so I am sitting here. I got everything hooked up. Well, I got the power supply and everything here anyway. And this is a ZSX amp breakout board and a 1200 watt server power supply. Links are in the description. I do get these from Parallel Miner, and they're pretty much my go-to when it comes to getting like server power supply stuff. Now, this doohickey here, this is 0, so this is your amps and this is your volts. Right now, obviously it's 0. It reads everything at 100% efficiency coming out of this breakout board. So example, if it's 1 volt, I times it, or 1 amp, I times that by 12.3. That will tell me the watts before the efficiency of the PSU on what this thing is actually pulling. Now, before I turn this motherboard on, I want to see how much power this server power supply as well as breakout board is actually drawing first. So here I can see in the watt meter, we're sitting at 27.6 watts. And if you're used to the channel, I'm kicking it old school again with my pen and paper. So there I am. The PSU is 27.6 watts. If you are unfamiliar with server power supplies and breakout boards, once it's plugged in, it is on, and depending on the breakout board, some have switches, some don't. All the new ones and everything from Parallel Miner does have its own switch. So to turn this off, I just have to hit that button there, and that is off, but our power supply is still running, which you can see we're pulling some wattage here still, 12.2 with no breakout board. So I'm going to turn this thing on now to see how it does do when we boot up. So I'm just going to hit the button. It's going to go straight to the BIOS because I do have the SD card sitting in my hand right there. So we're going to let it go, and we're going to show you the BIOS once it does boot. So here is the BIOS, and there's a lot of stuff here I was not expecting. This thing has literally anything you can think of that has to do with the BIOS. It's here. This is the Intel processor, Celeron, a J6 412 at 2 gigahertz, 2000 megahertz, 0x9661, and it's an Elkhart Lake ULX. So there is the Intel processor. It's a 4-core, 4-thread CPU. Inside Advanced, there is so many options. Like, you could probably spend all day in here just playing with stuff, and obviously if you hit the wrong thing, this thing won't work. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on inside this BIOS for sure. So this BIOS is very, very in-depth. But I found one section here that does state Wi-Fi. So this thing may have Wi-Fi in it. I didn't even notice an antenna on the board itself, but that's very interesting that there's a Wi-Fi config in here. So, you know, maybe sometime we'll have to test that once I get a better way of showcasing the BIOS to you guys. But for now, you know, this thing is very in-depth and it's a video all on its own. I put the SSD in, fired it up, and it does look like Hive OS here has loaded. We'll go to the workstation. Everything is detected inside Hive, and I know this is horrible quality, guys. Very, very sorry for that. But Rebtech 2 is detected. Here's our 4x Intel Celeron at 2 gigahertz. So everything's looking good here. I'm going to update everything as well as the NVIDIA drivers, and then we're going to try some GPUs here soon. I'm loaded back into the BIOS. The first upgrade it didn't want to take. I actually froze up, but all I did is reboot it. I shut the power off, turned it back on, updated it again, and it worked with no issues. So I'm not sure what happened that first try, but the second try, it updated with no issues. Now, another thing, we got to look at the power here. So look at this. I found this interesting. We're at 32 watts right now. 32, the odd 0.1, but 33 right there. So we're at 32 watts overall. It's pretty heavy, it's pretty steady. And that comes down to only 4.4 watts on this motherboard. And I'm doing a cross confirmation here, is we're showing 0 amps. And at 12.3 volts, 1 amp would be, well, 12.3 watts. So we are under 12.3 at only 4.4 watts. So this is an extremely efficient motherboard. I can't remember what the first one was, but I believe it used, you know, quite a bit more power. In the 15 to 20 watt range is what the version 1 took. And this thing looks like it's only 4.4 watts as an idle. So that's very efficient. Just for a comparison, my test bench motherboard right there, it uses about 22 watts on a system idle all by itself. So 4.4 to, you know, 22. So yeah, we're looking pretty good on efficiency so far out of this motherboard. So now we're gonna have to load it up with a couple GPUs just to kind of test stuff. So for AMD, I'm gonna go with the Rebtech card. Like I said, the 470, 8 gigabyte. I'm gonna use this for the AMD side, and then we're gonna load it up with a couple NVIDIA. I got my OCTOMINER here, which I was solo mining Ethereum, but it's shut down because that's just what I got to do. Being a small miner and a YouTube channel, you know, I just can't keep things running constantly because I got to test stuff. So I might throw in this 3090, I might throw in this 3060 Ti LHR, and then I might just throw in like a 3070 or a 3060 non-LHR. That way we do have a mix between 3 NVIDIA as well as an AMD card, and if everything, you know, starts mining, then we should be good to go on this Rebtech motherboard. Okay guys, I think I have everything hooked up, and here's a first look, or I guess an in-depth look of that Rebtech GPU. This is AMD, and you can see USB out into the USB interface. And as for this side, for the ×1 like you normally have in your motherboard, all of these ends will come off. They are no longer needed, but you still need the riser part on the GPU end for, you know, normal GPUs. So I'm going to turn this on and let's see if everything is detected inside of Hive OS. While this does boot up, I am using risers from GPURisers.com, as well as these white splitters. Those are from GPURisers.com. So mix worth of stuff. I do have codes in the description for 10% off total orders to GPURisers.com if you are looking for risers, splitters, hard drives, all sorts of stuff, and as well, again, parallel miner for the server power supply and breakout boards. Now, depending how much power I'm using, I only have 900 watts max on the server power supply because I'm only on 120 volt. It is a 1200 watts PSU if I was on 240 volt. So I'm getting a bunch of start job errors type ordealios going on here, and honestly, I have not seen this happen and since I've last used USB drives and having to reflash them. So maybe putting an M2 into this would work. It seems to only be detecting, as you can see here, that AMD GPU. None of my NVIDIA ones really want to show up, as you can see while it's still loading. But they pop up on there, but they're not actually working themselves. So I'm gonna let it boot this one last time. I installed the NVIDIA drivers a few times and let everything go. But all I can really think of is maybe putting an M2 drive into this thing and not using the SD may fix the issue. Like I said, last time I've ever had issues with this is why I swapped to SSD drives, is because the USB drives kept doing this to me and I was getting frustrated. But you know, it's getting late here. This is about where I am gonna wrap up this video. So I'm so sorry guys. I'm gonna work on getting this thing running for you guys. But again, that's going to be a future video. Just before I go, I do want to show you that there we are. The AMD GPU is showing up just fine. We're getting some NV tool errors. Now, I believe Red Panda is looking into this, probably the exact same error. He was saying he was having issues as well. Hopefully he gets it figured out. But all I can think of at this point in time is an M2 drive. I'm going to have to pull apart one of my CPU mining rigs, steal its drive, flash it, test it on here and see if that works. But like I said, it's getting late here, guys, so I'm very, very sorry. Okay, guys, I can't leave it at that. So I sacrificed the CPU mining rig and I have everything running. So what I did is I took Rig 7 M2 drive and slapped it inside of this, and all the GPUs were detected, NVIDIA as well as AMD. So this is why I did quit using USB drives, because that is the same issue I was seeing with them, and I moved over to SSDs. Now putting in that M2 drive solved the issue, so I'm guessing it either comes down to this SD card, if it focuses. Come on, focus for me. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. If that SD card right there was the issue, then obviously, well, that is the issue because it's working totally fine now. So I'm going to see if I can get this thing mining now, but we have all our GPUs detected and everything is running while running this thing off the M2 drive. And it looks like I got some hash rates. I'm running a mixed rig on this Rebtech. Hash rates coming in. Now I didn't tweak everything out. I got a 140 watt power limit set on everything, including that 3090. Again, I only have 900 watts here, so I don't want to play around with overclocking stuff way too much, but everything is working. Everything's looking good, and this thing is working 100%. I just had to put in that M2 drive. One thing I should point out as well is the actual screw hole for the M2 drive is larger than said majority of them. Good thing I had, you know, a little PC kit right here with all the screw sizes for PC cases and everything. Because I would not have had a screw to get that in, and I wouldn't have been able to test this. So, you know, it's always good to carry extra stuff like screws, you know, obviously risers, you know, anything, any extra parts, extra power supplies, everything. Have extra stuff because you never know when you're going to need it. All right, guys, so I got everything back online. We're back to solo mining ourselves some Ethereum. Hopefully we hit a 500 Ethereum block. So there we have it. That is the brand new version 2 of the Rebtech motherboard. Let me know what you think about it. Now the SD card, maybe a faster one or another one would work, but the one at least that I got didn't work, and I did need that M2 drive in order to fully function the NVIDIA GPUs. And just again, this is why I do not use USB drives in HiveOS for any of my rigs. I swapped over to SSD because that was the main reason right there. All right, as always, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one. Rabid out. Thank you for watching my video, and if you haven't seen one of these, be sure to check them out. And if you already seen them, maybe you missed some, might have to watch it one more time. And if you just let it play in the background, that's all right as well. I do try to live stream every weekend as well as every couple days during the week, so be sure to be subscribed so you don't miss that. As always, have a great day.